What's up guys, Tearless here. I am inside the Dreadscar Rift. I'm ready to bring you another WoW Legion class specialization overview. I am looking at the Destruction Warlock specialization. This is the class order hall for Warlocks. It's pretty nice looking. Before I get started into this video, I want to kind of preface this by telling you it's possible that stuff may change between now and the launch of the pre-patch for Legion. I thought Blizzard for the most part was done with their major changes. However, a patch came out just the other day that kind of changed some of the stuff that happened in my Fury Warrior videos. So if any changes come out from here on out, what I will do is I will kind of put a little pop-up in the video so that you know that, and I'll link it in the comment section so that you guys will, or the video description, that you guys can see what the changes are that they've made in recent patches. But for the most part, most of the abilities have been kind of set in stone, and for right now I'm choosing classes and specializations that I think are pretty well locked in and not going to be changing very much. Hence, that is why I'm here with Destruction Warlock. This is the abilities section of the two-part series. The second part will be on talents and PvP talents. Here I will be talking about removed, changed, and new abilities, and I'll be going in that order because that kind of gives you an idea of how things have changed for Destruction Warlock, and then I will be going into the artifact weapon that you will be receiving in WoW Legion when it launches. So the biggest thing to know about Destruction Warlocks, before I get into the removed abilities, is that Burning Embers have been removed. Now, with the introduction to Demon Hunters, they took a lot of what was iconic for Demonology Warlocks. I'm mixing up Demon Hunters and Warlocks. They took a lot of what was, kind of the big deal for a Demonology Warlock, which was your transformation and everything. That really is much more iconic for a Demon Hunter. It has been throughout Warcraft lore, so they had to take that away, and that means taking away their resource system away. So, kind of ironically, with all of the diversification that's happening for many of the specs that is happening in this expansion, this one's actually kind of going the opposite direction. And this is coming in the way of that. Now all three specs of Warlocks are operating off of soul shards now. That used to be Affliction only, and the other two specs had their own. Now they all run off of soul shards. Burning Embers have been removed, and now most of the changes for Destruction Warlock are dealing around changing how, the cost of your abilities occurs. I will say, for the most part, Destruction Warlock is one of the specs that is very similar to how it plays on live. You're going to see that. And so, if you're really a big fan of Destruction Warlock on live, you're going to notice that there's not much there. There's some new abilities coming in. However, 3 of them are abilities that you had in the far past, I should say, not the recent past. And, they may not be as exciting. And then the mastery had to change, of course, because of the no longer having Burning Embers. So there's just a few changes there, but most of the changes come in the fact that they have to kind of adapt to this new Soul Shard system as opposed to the Burning Embers system. So let's go ahead and get into the removed abilities. And first off, we have Ember Tap that has been removed. That one was strictly kind of a part of the Burning Embers system, so that had to be removed. Fire and Brimstone has been removed, but it is a talent, so we'll get to that in the talent section. Same thing with Shadowburn. Soul Shroud has been removed. I do not think Threat will be an issue for Warlocks or any class, DPS class, in this expansion, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Backdraft also is getting the Fire and Brimstone Shadowburn treatment. It is now a talent, same as Demonic Circle, Summon / Teleport. Also, all 4 of those are now in the talent section. We will recover that in the next video. Flames of Zoroth is another ability that was really kind of important to the Burning Embers, and so that has been removed because of it. Blood Pact, basically most of the raid-wide buffs have been removed from the game. I understand that they're kind of, it's kind of repetitive. Like, why does everyone have raid-wide buffs? At one point, at the very beginning of WoW, you had raid-wide buffs that you brought all these different classes in, and then all of a sudden, certain classes weren't being brought in because they didn't have certain raid-wide buffs, and then everyone had different buffs, and pretty much everyone could be covered, so why not just get rid of all of them? So that's what they did. Dark Intent has been removed from the game. Dark Soul Instability. Devastation, which is your 15% base crit addition to your spec to kind of guide you in what you should be kind of gearing into. That's been removed from the game for all the classes. No longer you're going to have that little guide, which I thought was kind of silly anyways. And then lastly, Mastery Fiery Apocalypse has gone specifically because Burning Embers has been removed and you need something else to take its place. So, going into the changed abilities, we have Chaos Bolt, and the main change here is that since it can't cost a Burning Ember, it now costs 2 Soul Shards. Pretty simple. It has not changed at all. In fact, a lot of the spell visual effects for a Destruction Warlock have not changed much at all. Most of them are close to the same. I think the only one that's somewhat changed maybe a little bit is Rain of Fire, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Conflagrate now generates 1 Soul Shard, but it lost its ability to remove, it removed its movement speed penalty when you had an Immolate on the target. It had that kind of interaction with Immolate, where if you had Immolate on the target, Conflagrate could lower its movement speed. That has been removed from it. It is now just straight explosion damage, and it'll generate a Soul Shard. Enslaved Demon, there was a haste reduction every time you enslaved a demon. That has been removed. So now you can enslave a demon and have it at full capacity. Havoc had a welcome change, and I'm going to demonstrate this here for you. It now lasts for 8 seconds instead of 3 spells. So before it used to last for 3 spells or 1 Chaos Bolt. That Chaos Bolt restriction has been removed, so now it can apply for 8 seconds for as many Chaos Bolts as you can get off in that 3 seconds, which generally is only 2, but if you have some massive haste, buffs, etc. on yourself, you can probably roll off 3. So first off, I'm going to build up my Soul Shards here for a second, just so we can get this going. My Soul Shards built up, and the best way to do that is to spread your Immolates all over the place. I mean, when I go over the Immolate changes, you'll understand pretty quickly. I'm going to go ahead and put Havoc on this one, and then I'm going to switch and use Chaos Bolt, and you'll be able to see that I'm able to fire off multiple Chaos Bolts before it actually goes away. And it's going to go away before I get this last one off. But you can see right there, no longer the restriction on Havoc, and now lasts for 8 seconds, and there's a pretty sweet talent that actually combines with that to make it even better. So we'll get to that in the talent section. Talents are a little bit more interesting for a Destruction Warlock this time around than the actual changes to the abilities. The next change I need to explain is Immolate, which I just demonstrated for you there. Every 15% chance, every tick has a chance to generate a Soul Shard, and a 30% chance on a critical strike to generate a Soul Shard. So if you really want to keep that flow of Soul Shards running in, you want to be making sure that your Immolate is spread out across several characters. Incinerate has a small change. No longer generates Burning Embers. A very small change, and that's basically because there's no longer any Burning Embers. It's just straight damage now. I'll go ahead and use it. I believe its velocity has increased. The visual velocity of it has increased. And maybe the actual hand particle effects, but for the most part it's still the same. Rain of Fire has been changed. It now has a cast time for 2 seconds instead of 0. It used to be instant cast, and it now costs 3 Soul Shards. So we're going to go ahead and just use 2 Conflagrates here to get it up, and then we're going to use it right on top of here, Rain of Fire, and you can see it's still pretty much close to the same the way it was on live. The next change is in Summon Doomguard Infernal. You can only have one of these at once. However, it now costs 1 Soul Shard. Its cooldown has been reduced all the way down to 3 minutes from 10 minutes. So I'm not as knowledgeable in what you can do in arenas, but I'm pretty sure that allows you to now use Doom Guards and Infernals in arenas, so that'll be interesting to kind of have available to you. The next change is the most important change for Destruction Warlocks, and that is in Unending Breath. Unending Breath now increases your swim speed by 20%. Pretty awesome there. The last change going for Destruction Warlocks is going to be Unending Resolve. Its cooldown's been reduced to 1 minute from 3 minutes, so that's a pretty nice change to have. Let me double check and make sure that that is Correct? Yes, it is there. Unending Resolve, that is your defensive ability. It's now a 1-minute cooldown, which is an excellent defensive mechanism to have. And one thing I've noticed is that you may have lost Ember Tap and such, but it's really nice to have, and Shadowburn is now a talent, but they've also added some new abilities back that will help with your ability to keep your health up and keep your defenses up. And the first of that is that Drain Life. If you may have noticed in my quick flip through the book, Drain Life is back. Is now available to Destruction Warlocks. And they just wanted to add more sustainability for Destruction Warlocks, and so that's why Drain Life is now baseline for them. Health Funnel, keeping your demon alive, that is also back. I put it in the new spell category, but it is a spell that was once a part of Destruction Warlocks, but was taken away. Same thing with Life Tap. If you ever find yourself running out of mana and you got plenty of health, just do the flip, and you will get your mana back with a little bit of a 10% cost to your health. These two new next ones are very important. First is your Mastery, which is Chaotic Energies. I think this is really fun. It plays into the Destruction Warlock kind of play style. So I'm going to read this off for you here. Your spells deal a random amount of additional damage, up to 41%, and the damage you take is reduced by a random amount up to 9%. I'm assuming that this randomness is even across the board in how it rolls, and it allows you basically so that the average of what the random is going to be is going to be what your DPS increase is going to be. Now, I'm not sure what Mastery will do to improve this. It could increase the amount, how much it could increase. Yes, it increases how much extra you actually can do. So instead of it being 41, if you have a lot of mastery, it maybe you can do an additional 51% damage, depending on how much mastery you have. So that is the new Mastery Chaotic Energies. It kind of plays into the Destruction Warlock of being this completely unstable offshoot of a mage. You know, they are Destruction Warlocks. The last new ability is another passive. It's called Soul Leech. All single target damage done by you and your minions grants you and your pet shadowy shields that absorb 10% of the damage dealt for 15 seconds, up to a 15% of maximum health. So really, the biggest thing for Destruction Warlocks is they have gained a lot of sustainability and ways to shield themselves. Before, you basically had Ember Tap and some stuff like Shadow Burn to kind of mitigate the damage or get people away from you. Now you actually have direct ways to actually mitigate that damage, and I'll go ahead and start using, I'll just use Conflagrate here, and you'll see Soul Leech right here already says absorb 7,000 damage, and it should build up now up to 12,000 damage. So as long as you're dishing out the damage, you'll be able to constantly have that shield on yourself and your minion, which will help with your sustainability. So, like I said at the beginning of this video, the changes to Destruction Warlock are not that different. And basically you're still, I believe, I'm not the biggest expert on Warlocks. Warlocks and Rogues are my one weak point in the WoW universe. But for the most part, how you actually play a Destruction Warlock is not changing too much. And instead, while you lost Burning Embers, you are gaining yourself a lot of sustainability through Drain Life, Health Funnel, keeping your demon alive, etc. So those, I think, are great changes. The next thing we need to talk about is we need to go into the artifact weapon for a Destruction Warlock. And before we get there, the artifact weapon will always come with an ability of sorts, and this one is known as Dimensional Rift. Rips a hole in time and space, opening a portal that damages your target, and it is a 45-second recharge. So I'm going to go ahead and just pop Immolate on the target, flag, just do a little bit of damage to the target, and then I'm going to open the portal. It is instant. You will see the portal open. I'll use all 3 charges. You can see just launching. The greenish purple ones will launch quicker. The purple ones will launch slower, and I think there's a yellow one, I'm not quite sure, that will launch pretty fast. I can't remember if it's just 2 portals or 3 different portals that there are, but nonetheless, you get 3 portals in which that just come up and launch damage at your enemy. So your artifact weapon is known as the Scepter of Sargeras. So this works like a talent tree in which you're going to be starting right here, right where you will always get the dimension, you'll get the ability right off the bat. You'll get Dimensional Rift. So as you can see, this is where you will start. And when you first get your artifact weapon, see, there's another purple portal. When you get your artifact weapon, this is where you'll start, and they'll say, okay, you know, here, we've got you enough to get your first ability, so go into it. And then from there, you kind of connect the dots on the tree to what abilities you may want. The kind of ones with the epic portraits around them, you know, the legend, or the elite portraits around them, those are kind of the big prizes on your talent tree, and that's what you kind of want to work for. So I'm going to go through from right to left, I believe. I think that would be easiest. Or we'll go from left to right. Left to right and read off all of these different talents. You can see most of them are going to be like the old talent trees, in which is like X does more damage, X, you know, this does more damage, or this does less cooldown. But the 3 epic portraits generally have something more interesting to add to them. The first one here is Dimensional Ripper. Incinerate has a 6% chance to grant a charge on Dimensional Rift. So you can, that kind of adds more use out of Incinerate instead of it just being base damage. Once you get this, now you have more opportunities to pop that Dimensional Rift. You have Chaotic Instability, increases the critical strike damage dealt by Chaos Bolt by 8%. Fire in the Flames, reduces the cast time of Incinerate by 10%. Chaos Bolt, Soul Snatchers, Chaos Bolt has a 15% chance to refund 1 Soul Shard. Demonic Durability, reduces the cooldown of Unending Resolve by 30 seconds. So Unending Resolve will originally have a 1.5 minute cooldown. Used to be 3 minutes. It's now going to have a 1.5 minute cooldown, and then when you get far enough in the tree, it will have a 1 minute cooldown. Now notice some of these have 3 in them, and you have to work your way up. For instance, this one starts at rank 1, you only get a 5% chance to refund 1 soul shard, and it gets to 10, 15. We have up here Planeswalker. Transporting through your demonic gateway heals you for 50% of your maximum health. It's a pretty nice sustain there. Master of Disaster increases damage dealt by Incinerate by 15%. You have Devourer of Life. Drain Life has a 45% chance to increase its damage and healing by 25% for 15 seconds. I do believe that's per tick. Let me use it here and see if it pops up. We have just Soul Leech popping up right now. It may be per tick, and it may be not per tick. It may be just from the first damage that you deal from it. I'm not quite sure. It has not popped up, so that could be, and it may not actually show up as a buff. It may just automatically be applied. You have Flames of the Pit. This will be the first one that you get. Increases fire damage you deal by 4%. Fire from the Sky increases the damage dealt by Rain of Fire by 15%. Impish Incineration increases the damage dealt by your Imp's Firebolt by 18%. Grimoire of Supremacy increases the damage dealt by your Doomguard's Doombolt by 18%. Grimoire of Sacrifice, demonic power damage increased by 50%. Some of that, I do believe, gets into the talent section that's still down here. That talent section is still carried over from Warlords of Draenor. It's still there, so we'll talk about that in the next video. But do know that this Impish Incineration, Grimoire of Supremacy increases the damage dealt by your Doombolt by 18%, and Grimoire of Sacrifice, demonic power damage increased by 50%. There is Eternal Struggle. After casting Life Tap, you take 30% less damage for 6 seconds, so another way you can mitigate damage, even though you will lose 10% of your health, there is a way for you to mitigate some damage. Increases the critical strike chance of Immolate by 30%, which is really helpful in you creating more soul shards. Lord of Flames, once every 10 minutes, once every 10 minutes, Summon Infernal will summon 3 additional Infernals to serve you for 25 seconds. I have not tested this out, so we're going to go ahead and test this out and see if it works. And there we go. 3 extra Infernals. Go attack. That's really cool. So, I have 3 extra Infernals, and that's once every 10 minutes. So you can see the debuff right here. says you can't use Lord of the Flames again. So that is Lord of the Flames. Once again, these epic portraits are really the ones you want, and that's probably what you will start going towards. Forget all the extra passives and go for that. Now we have Residual Flames here, increases damage dealt by Immolate by 30%. And then the last one here is Conflagration of Chaos. Conflagrate has a chance to guarantee your next Conflagrate critically strikes, and to increases its damage by your critical strike chance. Not sure if there's a typo there because that was kind of weird to read, but Conflagrate has a chance to guarantee your next Conflagrate critically strikes and to increase its damage by your critical strike chance. Yes, there should be an S there. So that is everything for the Scepter of Sargeras. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this is the base model form of it right here. It's on my back. But that is everything for a Destruction Warlock in Warlords of Draenor. For the most part, they really are not changing too much. Your playstyle, you're going to realize, is close to the same as it was in Warlords of Draenor, but you are given more sustain options. The next video, I will be looking at the talents that are available for a Destruction Warlock. We'll be looking at first the the regular PvE talents, and then we'll be going into the PvP talents that only activate when you are in PvP combat. So, that is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next. Tearless out.